Hello friends, welcome to a new watercolor tutorial. I am VanidasMangathil and let us learn watercolors together. In today's tutorial, we will be making this loose watercolor landscapes. It is a very simplified version and we have tried to play with watercolors, water, hard and soft edges. We try to be a little playful in this video. I will explain my entire process throughout the video, and the inspiration for this particular subject is a photo from Painting References Facebook page. You may check out that page and you may find a lot of inspiring references there. Without further ado, let us begin. I am using a cold pressed watercolor paper which is quarter sheet, 11 by 15 inch is the dimension. The first thing is to make a simple sketch, a very loose sketch of the subject, a horizon and then some background hills. So this is a very loose drawing and some more foliage at the very far end behind the mountains and some piece of land. Okay, so as you can see, some water body, this is the idea, some mountain, and behind that there is some far away foliages and some water body in front and some piece of land at the foremost. So that is the sort of idea that we have. This painting, this drawing is inspired by a reference, and the reference inspiration is picked up from a Facebook page called Painting References. Okay, so you can check out that Facebook page and you will find a lot of interesting references. So I'm using a watercolor set. Okay, so which is 24 color set from Brustro, and I am using raw sienna as a pale wash. Raw sienna as the pale wash for the sky area, because I wanted some kind of a warmer kind of a sky. It is a kind of a cloudy scene that we are looking for, maybe a warm underlying wash, and on top of that we can make some kind of a grayish wash for the clouds. So very monsoon or rainy clouds that we are going to apply on top of it. This first task is to get the initial paper completely filled by the initial wash, and I am adding a little bit of ultramarine blue, pale wash of ultramarine blue at the top to get a sort of a greenish, bluish sky at the top. So we have some yellowish warm sky at the horizon and we have some bluish sky on the top. The brush that I am using is a mop brush which is from Raphael. It is a natural hair brush. I had taken this long back. It is still working good. It is number 6 mop brush from Raphael. Okay. And some more, maybe some different colors, cerulean blue. And see, I am looking for some color variation within the blues. Okay. Okay. So the paper is still wet, so you will get softer edges. That is the idea. Okay. Yeah, I am covering most of the areas on the paper. Okay, and we will later add additional layers for the details. This is sort of a grey color. This is French grey from Brustro watercolors. So that is little bit of opaque, and I am adding little touch of ultramarine blue to make it a greyish blue kind of a color for some subtle clouds. I think this is not strong enough in value, so maybe we will have to add a little bit more darker clouds later. Some subtle clouds while the initial wash is still wet. It is a kind of ultramarine and that grey and a touch of burnt umber to get some color variations within the clouds. Okay, some kind of a greyish cloud. So I made it little darker clouds. Okay, so I made it little darker clouds. See the precise color and the ratio of colors used. It is difficult to explain that how much of a fraction of each color that I have taken. You could look at the colors and you can get the colors. Actually, various colors. I mean the shade, the actual color of various brands. Say for example, the yellow ochre or the raw sienna of different brands may look slightly different in its actual color. So depending upon the brand that you have, you can pick up your colors. I mean the adjacent colors. You can look at the colors that I am using, and some corresponding colors you can pick from your palette, your collection of colors. Some more grayish color. Okay. Sometimes my palette goes out of the camera coverage. Please excuse me, because at the time of painting, we often lose control of where our hands moves. I mean where I keep my palette, etc. Usually I don't lift my palette. I just keep it at the side and then I pick up the colors. But for the cameras to pick up the colors, I have lifted the palette. Darker clouds. Okay. See, it looks very dark at this point, but since you all know that watercolor dries light when it watercolor, the color goes much lighter when it dries. So when the paper dries, it will go lighter. So we have to kind of compensate the tones at the time of painting. What I meant is that at the time of painting, you have to make the colors little bit more darker than how you actually want it finally. Okay, I think these are reasonably good, the clouds. Okay, so if we can control it. If it is still wet, if you want to control the flow of colors, you can just rotate the board and maybe shake little bit to control the flow of colors. Sometimes what happens is when you paint, because of the gravity, all the colors will start to bleed down. The cloud will have a tendency to bleed down, so you can lift it and control the flow of clouds. You can see a lot of buckling has happened on my paper. You can see lots of ups and downs happening on the paper. But once it is dry, it looks flatter. Now it is dry. I have kept it for drying, and you can see that the clouds are looking lighter, and you can now start painting the others. I am wetting this area. Okay, this area I am wetting because at this particular area, I wanted the mountain to be little, less visible. So at this point, I want the mountain to have softer edges and a sort of a feel of getting lost in the background in the sky. And in the rest of the other area, I am having sharper edges for the mountain. So just to get the good edge control, I have wetted some part of the mountain area. Once the initial wash, the sky and the clouds are fully dry. Okay, it's a color of the same kind of cloud color, the blue color, and I have added a bit of green, green color. So from the green, actually I usually prefer the green, olive green. I usually don't like the other greens because they don't look natural to me. But if you really want bright green, you can take some of the other greens like sap green or some other green. Some more darker color, bluish green. These colors are bluish green, kind of a color, and you can see that I am using a smaller brush, and I am also leaving some of the paper whites in between. And these paper whites, the idea of leaving these paper whites are to suggest some sort of building, houses on the mountain valley area, okay, so that it looks a little bit more interesting. So they have some contrast, and they are interesting. See, if you look at the mountain, you can see that the colors are lighter where we have made the paper wet. Okay, so we can control the edges by deciding to wet the paper or keep the paper dry. On a dry paper, you will find that the edges will be sharp, and it will look like we have more contrast if you are applying colors on dry paper, and if you are applying colors on wet paper, you can get softer edges, and you have a sort of a misty feel with wet on wet approach. I'm still sorry that some of the actual mixing part is actually missing. It went outside of the coverage of camera. But I think I'll try to explain what I am doing. It should be clear to you. Right, I think we are done with the main mountain and the sky and some initial wash for the land area, and I'm softening some area of the mountain to create some interest. What next? I'm splashing some colors, some water. These are some kind of a grayish color and sometimes some water, so that we get some textures into the mountain area. So those textures will make it little interesting. Now we want something at the far end, some far end foliages. So we will probably do that. Okay. That is the next thing. Right. Do you have any question? Please let me know if you have any question. I mean, I'm explaining that all these things are clear to you. But if you have any questions, please do let me know. Okay. So I'll be happy to answer your questions. If you're finding value in my tutorials, please do subscribe and press the bell notification. So I'll be releasing more and more videos every week. Okay, here for the far end foliages, I am applying some light purplish gray kind of a color. Okay, so you can mix the colors using the color. Using the colors that are available to you. The idea is that it is a bluish purple and they are slightly lighter in tone. Okay. Some splashes. I am dropping some water, and again to proceed further I am getting this dry. Okay. I feel that the main mountain should have little bit more darker reflections on the water body below. Okay, so initially we suggested some darker tones. When we created the sky, we also applied bluish tone to the ground to suggest reflection of the sky, but that was not sufficient enough. I am adding little bit more darker tone to suggest some reflection of the mountain. This again, I am not sure if it will dry very light. There is a good chance that it will get very dry. So I'm adding little bit more blue to that, and let us see how it goes. Right, the reflection area is good. We have some convincing sky, the mountain, and a little bit of reflection. Okay, they all look good to me. Now what we want finally is we need to suggest some land. Okay. See, this is a layered approach, and we have to get it dry every time we apply a wash. Okay. So now it is, again, the paper is fully dry, and now I think we can go for the land color. So I am using burnt sienna. We are using burnt sienna and little bit of blue. Okay, we are using a little bit of indigo blue because in the reference it is little bit of a dark color for the land, and for this kind of a background, this kind of a cloudy background, I don't want bright colors. So I am mixing some browns like burnt umber, burnt sienna, and some blues like ultramarine or indigo, and getting some dark colors. Okay, and now let us suggest the land portion of it. It looks very dark. Okay, it looks very dark. It could be a little bit more brownish, and I am mixing a little bit more brown color to that. And see, you can see that the edges of the land, I wanted it little straighter, but because the paper is buckled a lot, you are finding some, some shapes on the top edge of it. I want it should be straight. So let us make it a little straight piece of land. Okay, the idea is a mountain, and below that there is a water body, and below that there is some piece of land. That is the idea. It is not very colorful piece of land. It is sort of an atmospheric sort of colors that we are using. See, the water body is probably shallow, and we are finding some piece of land within the water body. Yeah. We have made the drawing initially, but most of the drawing has already been disappeared. Because we did a couple of washes, one on top of the other, and we made them to dry. So our initial drawing has mostly disappeared. So I'm still trying to remember where we had the drawing, and I'm trying to make this water body and land now. I feel that we have good depth already into the picture, so but we need to do some refinement for the land part of it, and we might then have to add some details to create a little bit more interest on the land or on the overall scene. Maybe there is a stream of water going around the top, around the bottom right corner, a stream of water. Okay, so let us define that, and we have to be little careful about the perspective when we define water bodies. Okay, so be careful whenever you make water bodies. It should be convincing. It shouldn't be very precise, but I feel that it should be convincing.
Alright, it looks, I know the color looks little muddy. If you want, you can use some fresh colors. I mean, if you're following along, you can use some fresh colors. I use little muddy color because to match with the overall atmosphere, I have picked up little muddy color. That is brown, blue mix sort of color. Some drops of colors, water, to create some texture on the foreground. So overall it looks good to me as of now. Overall it looks good to me. If you see, please feel free to make changes. Okay, so this is a tutorial. I mean, the tutorial is to show the approach that I have used. That doesn't mean that you have to precisely follow the same approach. You get some information from the tutorial. Try to think why I am doing certain brushworks, why I am splashing the colors. Try to analyze the approach and understand some concepts, and using those concepts you can do your own work. The idea of this tutorial is not that you should exactly recreate the same thing, but the approach can be understood and taken away, and it could be applied to your own subjects. That is the overall idea. That is what that is what my idea is whenever I create any tutorial video. Okay, to convey the information, to explain the thought process. That is the idea. I am pretty happy with the overall feel of it. Let us make some vertical element to create some interest. Okay. I am using a liner brush, a thin brush, and with some dry brushworks or with some thick pigments, I am making some vertical lines. So where exactly we make the lines, you think. Okay. And once you make a line, also you make the corresponding reflection, so that the stream of water will be more convincing. Okay, these are very tiny things, tiny touches here and there. So try to be free. I mean, play with it, and try to, change. Try to make changes in your own way. I would always suggest that. I'm thinking of adding 2 figures here. Okay, these are tiny figures. Okay, the idea is to just create some interest. Okay, these are very representative. It is not precise. So if you're having difficulty in creating figures, you can check out my tutorials on human figures. There are a lot of tutorials on human figures. You can check out, and you can practice practice from some of my tutorials on figures. I have tutorials for figures, drawing, getting the action, and also I have a playlist for showing or teaching the overall perspective of the figure. I think we are pretty much done, and this can be treated as mostly complete, because I don't want to do too much of changes now. Okay, so it is actually very difficult to decide where do we stop the painting. We will anyway stop at this particular point and take out the tape. Okay, so thank you very much for watching this tutorial.
Thank you so much for being with me throughout this video. Hope this video was informative and you could find something to learn from this video. If you found something useful, if you could learn something from this, please do subscribe to my channel and press the bell notification, and also write your comments, your feedback, suggestions into the comment box below. Now if you think this can benefit your artist friends, please don't hesitate to share this video to them. They also may find it useful. So we'll soon meet you with another interesting tutorial in the next video. Thank you very much. Bye bye.